Hey everybody, Teching 101 here, and welcome to the first of a few pre-recorded videos that I made for you guys while I'm on vacation! Yeah, in fact, right now, if you happen to be watching this video as soon as it was uploaded, right now I am on an airplane heading to Florida. So yeah, and I've never been on an aeroplane before, so I'm either sitting in my seat very comfortably watching a director's cut of The Bourne Ultimatum, or I'm having some type of anxiety attack, so don't know. Check my Twitter for updates on that one. Good luck, current teching! But no, okay, so these videos are going to be a little shorter than my normal ones. They're just kind of videos to tide you over while I'm gone. I did bring all of my equipment down to Florida so I can make it. We're going to be there for like a whole week, and we got like a condo and everything, so I'm going to, as long as the internet is good, I'll be able to put out maybe a live stream or two or a video while I'm down there, but wanted to have some videos to cover it so I can actually have some fun down there. So this idea I got from a live stream the other day. One of my fans suggested, why don't you do a what if video if Usopp never apologized at the end of Enies Lobby, if he never rejoined the Straw Hats, what exactly would happen there? And that got me thinking. It's like, yeah, that is something that could, you know, create a whole new little you know, tangent of a story. You know, that's what I look for in these what if scenarios, you know, something that could maybe go off and have its own little thing and then maybe come back to the main storyline at some point. So yeah, so from this perspective, you know, at Water 7, Usopp and Luffy got into a fight over what was going to become of the Going Merry. Usopp was under the impression that we can't let the Going Merry go, we can't just scrap it because it is our ship that carried us all this way, and no matter what damage befalls it, we can eventually repair it. Like, there has to be something else we can do. However, Luffy, you know, one of the few moments, like, okay, Luffy is not a great captain. He's not a bad captain, but he's not a great captain, because a lot of times Luffy will be goofing off, you know, not really doing what he should really be doing, and a lot of times when they're sailing around, Nami is the one that takes the reins and is like, okay, there's a massive storm, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to furl the sails, you know, she's the one that takes control over that. Luffy's never been the person to be like, ooh, a storm, everybody batten down the mainsails, you know, Luffy would be the kind of guy that's like, ooh, a storm, let me climb out on the head of the Sunny and take a good look at it, you know. So, but there are a few moments where Luffy can, like, put on his serious face and he's like, alright, we need to actually make a decision here. I'm not going to be able to just goof around at this point. And that was one of the moments, and I was really proud of Luffy in that moment when he was at Galley La Company. These are the best shipwrights in pretty much the entire world, world-renowned. He's at Dock 1, and all of these shipwrights are telling him that, yeah, the Going Merry is done. You know, that the keel has been damaged, there's no way we can repair it. And Luffy doesn't just immediately, like, scrap it. He's just like, well, wait, is there anything you can do? And they explain to him, it's like, no, the keel is like the spine of the ship. Once that thing gets snapped, there's nothing we can do. And Luffy's like, alright, well, we have a lot of money, why can't you just build another Going Merry? And they're like, well, it's not that we couldn't do that, but there's no way we could make a ship exactly like the Going Merry, because we wouldn't have even if we follow the exact same blueprints, you know, the lumber, the material would all be different. You would all notice it isn't the same ship. I mean, we can build a ship that has the same basic figurehead and everything, but you guys have been sailing on that ship for the last few months. You would definitely notice it's not the same ship. It would feel hollow. So, I mean, but hey, we could do it if you really want to. So Luffy had to kind of make the decision. He's like, okay, I guess this is the end. There's nothing else we can do for it, and I can't, and I think it really stuck to him, because I think at one point, I can't remember if it was Paulie or you know, Kaku, somebody told Luffy directly, they said, you know, if you continue to sail on that ship, then it's clear that you are not a good captain of your crew. You're a really bad person, because, you know, that we're the professionals and we're telling you straight out. So, yeah. But even with all that information and the decision that Luffy made, like, hey guys, we gotta part ways with the Merry here, and we gotta get a new ship because I'm listening to the experts, Usopp is still not having it. Usopp thinks Luffy is inconsiderate. He's like, no, and they get into a fight, and that fight is one of the best fights in all of One Piece. Like, if I was gonna make a list of, like, the top 5 fights in One Piece, I'm definitely putting Usopp and Luffy on there. Because it's not one of the most largest, you know, big bombastic fights, like when Luffy was fighting Eneru in this godly battle, like Duel of the Fates, like, but it was a really cool fight, because as soon as that fight began, everyone was thinking Luffy's gonna win. Luffy's gonna win this fight in like less than 5 seconds. From all the stuff that he's capable of, Luffy's got a devil fruit, Usopp's got nothing, he's weaker than Luffy physically, he's got less stamina and endurance and all that stuff. There's no way Usopp can win. Usopp gave that fight more thought than any other battle he's had. He really, really went into that fight hoping to win, and he got a lot further than anybody thought that he was going to get. Okay, but eventually, you know, it gets worn down. He runs out of tricks. He runs out of, you know, toys to play with, and then, you know, Luffy just bullets him right in the stomach, and he gets knocked down. However, Luffy was just kind of like, all right, you know what? You can have the ship. It's yours. We're out of here. And they go their separate ways. Now, of course, he becomes the Sogeking and decides to fight alongside the Straw Hats in order to rescue Robin. And then at the end of Enies Lobby, he has the tearful reunion with everybody where he's crying on the shore. And he's like, I'm sorry, I was an idiot. Would you please have me back? And then Luffy stretches out his arm and is like, okay. So let's assume that everything involving Sogeking, that still happened. So he still teams up with the crew to go fight against CP9 because Robin is still his friend. So even in that situation, this isn't like a what if Usopp was an asshole. This isn't like what if he decides, you know, screw the entire crew. But let's say he still becomes Sogeking. He fights alongside the crew. He gets Robin back, and they get back to Water 7, and the crew is recovering. They're recovering at Galila. Usopp is kind of off to the side, just kind of like spying on them, like, I don't know what to do. Oh my god, this is so tough. But let's say Usopp decides, you know what, when he's talking to Oimo and Kashi, they give him a choice. They say, you know, after we heal up and everything, we're thinking about heading back to Elbaf because there's no reason for us to stay here anymore, and we can finally wait for our captains, Dory and Bragi. If you want to come, you know, we'll take you to Elbaf. But Oimo and Kashi were like, don't you want to stay with your friends, though? Aren't you a little concerned about that? So Usopp had a decision to make. So this is going to be basically if he decided to be like, you know what? They are my friends, and I'll always feel about them that way. You know, I understand why Luffy had to do everything he did and all that stuff, and I'm glad we got back Robin and everything, but I think my time with them is past. I think it's time I forge my own destiny and get stronger. It's not that he became a douchebag all of a sudden, just like, screw my friends, screw the Straw Hats. I don't even think of them that way anymore. We're not talking about that. We're simply, you know, skewing his perspective on life. You know, whereas in the original story, he was like, you know what, I want to stay with my friends because that's where I belong. In this version, we're just skewing it a little bit to being like, maybe Usopp is like, that battle with CP9 really taught me that I have room to grow and get stronger. And if I go with you guys to Elbaf, maybe I could get stronger, and maybe I'll reunite with the crew someday, and I can truly apologize for what I did. And at that point, I'll be a true brave warrior of the sea. So if anything, maybe he's just putting his dream before the Straw Hat. I mean, you know, before the Straw Hat. So he's just like, you know, okay, I'm gonna try to become this brave sea warrior like my dad, and then I'll try to address the Straw Hats. Maybe we'll talk about that. So, at that point, the Straw Hats continue their journey without Usopp, and I'm sure they'll be having a very, you know, heartfelt moment where they're sailing away and they're looking at the shore. I'm like, he's gonna come. He definitely is. Crickets play in the background, like, crap, where is he? He's not there. Luffy, Garp has a giant iron ball. Okay, we're going. Bye, Usopp. We'll always have you in our hearts. And or maybe, okay, better example, maybe he leaves a note for them or something. You know, maybe he leaves them a little note, and he just kind of like maybe ties it to like a rock and then slingshots it to the ship, and the rock lands, and you know, it's a note that basically has him like apologizing. He's like, guys, look, I'm apologizing. I'm sorry for what I did, but I've decided to just take a different path. I've decided I'm going to go to Elbaf, so don't worry about me. I'm not going to be, like, dead in a gutter or something. Just, I'm going off on my own journey. Maybe we'll meet up someday. You guys are the best friends I've ever had in my life, and I'll see you in the new world, essentially. Like, that kind of note. And maybe they'll look at that and they'll be like, oh, okay, he's gonna be alright. And then they have to leave. And then so they go on to Thriller Bark and Sabaody, and they get separated and all that crap. Then Marineford happens, then the time skip happens. While all of that stuff is going on, no Usopp. Usopp decides to travel to Elbaf. Alright, he decides to go there, and he gets there with Oimo and Kashi, and Elbaf is a very welcoming place for him, because of course he's the one that brought back Oimo and Kashi, and he told them all about Dorian Bragi and what was going on. So if anything, they would welcome Usopp with open arms, and they would despise the government for doing what they did, right? And by the way, we still haven't seen the fallout from that. We still haven't exactly seen, you know, Oimo and Kashi. They're definitely back at Elbaf at this point, but we've never seen, like, what would have happened, you know, when they told their king, like Odin or Loki, the prince or whatever, hey, yeah, the world government lied to us for 50 years and basically held us captive. You know, so I'm interested in seeing where Elbaf stands on that just in the current story. But in this version, they get there and they tell there's like, oh, yeah, Odin, All-Father. Yeah, I'm just going totally Norse mythology with it. You know, this you know, tiny boy with the goggles taught us about why we were really supposed to be here and stuff because Dorian Bragi and all that stuff. He's like, oh, yeah, they're not back yet, but thanks for coming back. That sucks the world government pulled that crap on you guys. But thank you, son. You could stay here as long as you'd like. So I can imagine Usopp hanging out there for the 2-year time skip, training in Elbaf. He doesn't get super fat like he did on the Bowen Archipelago. He would probably refine his slingshot ability. It might not be the same as like what happened on the Bowen with the Pop Greens and the Black Kabuto, but he might develop whole new ways of fighting. He might develop like a giant version of the Kabuto that he can wield or something. I don't know. There might be certain materials on Elbaf, maybe not the same thing as a Pop Green, obviously, but there might be some sort of weaponry on Elbaf that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world that Usopp can harness or he can adapt into his own arsenal, because Usopp's a genius with that. He's a genius like, oh, these dials, these strange devices that can contain heat and wind and all that stuff, and he turned that into the perfect Climattact and the Kabuto. So I'm sure there's something on Elbaf that, you know, Usopp has never seen before. He would go gaga over like, ooh, I can convert this into a new weapon. All I have to do is change this and this, and I can make like a weapon that shoots electricity or something. So that would be really cool, okay? Hey everyone, so I realized in editing another thing that Usopp was really integral for in the plot. Actually, two things. One of them was Nami's Climattact. So, in this version, since we're keeping Usopp up until Enies Lobby, he's still going to give Nami the perfect Climattact, so she has that one. And then she uses that all the way up until the time skip. And then she goes to Weatheria, gets the Sorcery Climattact. So the one that she gets from Usopp on Zoe, that one that he was working on, the one that kind of looks like a dildo and extends and stuff, yeah, that one she would not have. So she would have to stick around with the sorcery one that she got from Weatheria. Or another option I thought is because they would still have Franky. Franky is pretty good at inventions too, so I could kind of see maybe Nami going to Franky and asking him to make her a new weapon, but it's Franky. So he would end up like, don't worry, Nami, I got this, super! And he, like, develops a battle mecha suit for her or something, and it's, like, really, like, it has, like, you know, giant boobs in the front of it or something, like this ridiculous thing that she would never wear, you know, and then she, like, kicks Franky upside the face and, like, screw you, I'm just going to use what I have now. But, yeah, I could see that going down as sort of like a comedy moment. I thought that would be pretty funny. Now, also keep in mind, after the events of Marineford, when Luffy does that 3D2Y stunt, think of it kind of the same way that, like, Vivi kept up to date with that. Like, Vivi saw the paper, she saw, you know, Luffy do the 3D2Y thing, and she didn't know what it meant, because she had not journeyed with the crew in that long. And so the same thing with Usopp. Usopp might get a paper, and he would keep up to date with the Straw Hats and what they were doing, and he would see Luffy doing the thing at Marineford, but he wouldn't know what the 3D2Y meant, because he wasn't at Sabaody in this version of reality to see, like, you know, we'll meet back here in 3 days. He wouldn't have been there for that. So he would just kind of look at it the same way Vivi would. Like, oh, Luffy. Oh, well, at least he's alive. Oh, what's this 3D? That's so weird. Didn't he always have a tattoo? No, he didn't. That was weird. Whatever. And so, anyway, I think he would just continue on training until the point where he became this, you know, really strong warrior. Now, also, keep in mind, from the time that the Straw Hats left Water 7, going to Thriller Bark to the, you know, Marineford, not a lot of time passed in between that. I would say only a month, like, or two. Not very much time passed between, like, Thriller Bark, and then Sabaody, and then Impel Down, and then Marineford. Okay, that was only maybe a month or so. And I think there was a few days that Luffy had to travel on the Tub Current, so not a lot of time passed there. And then you have the 2-year time skip. So really, Usopp is only gone for, like, 2 years plus, like, a month or so. That's really it. So Now, I could see once we get into the New World, once the Straw Hats arrive in the New World, they make a big show and they have like their wanted posters updated and everything. I could see Usopp looking at that and he could be like, whoa, the Straw Hats are back in action. Now, here's a few things, because there are not... I'm thinking about all the moments in the series where Usopp played like a very critical role. Like, without Usopp, things would be radically different. And, I'm thinking of, like, is there a moment like that in Fishman Island? Not really. I think they could get through Fishman Island mostly without Usopp. And by the way, they might bring on another crew member at this point. They might have brought on somebody else that they met, you know, in their journeys. I'm not sure who that would be. Jinbei still wouldn't have been able to join at Fishman Island. He would have still had to been ties to Big Mom. You know, and by the time they get to Punk Hazard, I mean, they have... you know, they have Law and Kinemon and everybody tagging along, so that's some extra muscle there. So I'm not sure who they would have enlisted, you know, in that point. I don't think there was anybody really at Thriller Bark that would have caught the eye of, you know, joining the crew or anything. I mean, maybe Lola, but nah, they wanted to head back to, they wanted to get out of there. I don't think they would have joined up. But they might have found somebody else at some point. Who knows? But anyway, they get to Dressrosa, and that's the point where Usopp does play a big critical role here. Because if it wasn't for Usopp, things really would have gotten screwed over, because he was the one that saved, that knocked out Sugar, and then saved Robin and everyone from being turned into toys. And if it wasn't for Usopp at that moment managing to scare the crap out of Sugar, then things would have probably been very, very different. So that makes me kind of worried in one version of this reality. If Usopp's not around and things don't play out the way they wanted to again, because you could always create a different variation of reality. You could always say, like, well, maybe in this version Usopp's not there, but Sugar does end up eating the Tate Basco sauce, and she does end up doing the original plan, knocking her out with that intense heat. Or not. Because if she doesn't, and Robin gets turned into a toy, and everybody else is a toy, and there's no one there to prevent her, then, yeah, the Straw Hats kind of lose that one. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's one variation, that Usopp's departure leads to the end of them all on Dressrosa. Or, here's another one, because Hyrule is at Dressrosa. He joined up with the buggy delivery service, you know, and he's like an S-class mercenary. It might be possible that Usopp would have met Hyrule while on Elbaf and decided to journey with Hyrule's like, I'm gonna get the new giant warrior pirates together, you know, would you like to join me? And Usopp, after being on Elbaf for so long, thinks, you know what, I think it's time I finally head back out to sea. So it's possible in this version that Hyrule might have, you know, taken Usopp to Dressrosa, and that's where the reunion could have happened, you know, and then Usopp takes off. Keep in mind, from the context of the story, we're talking like hundreds of chapters where we have not seen Usopp. You know, we wouldn't have seen Usopp since the end of Water 7 and the Enies Lobby. That's a few hundred chapters until Dressrosa. So it would have been really epic if all of a sudden, halfway through Dressrosa, when everyone's turned into a toy, like, oh no, what are we gonna do? That's when Usopp appears and takes off the cloak or something, and he's looking like, really epic or something. Different kind of design. I'm imagining he has a lot more scars on his body. You know, Usopp, Elbaf version. Takes it off. His hair's maybe, I want to see his hair maybe not in this kind of ponytail style, but maybe his hair's just straight down, you know, straightened, sort of like Yasopp a little bit, and, you know, in the dreadlocks sort of thing, and then he's got scars all over his body and crap, and then he takes out this giant version, it, like, explodes into this giant slingshot, and he fires a shot, and he takes out Sugar, and then everything kind of gets cut back to the way it is, and then at the end of Dressrosa, maybe that's where we have the tearful apology where Usopp bows to the Straw Hats, like, I'm sorry for everything I did, can you have me back? And of course, it doesn't matter at which point, the Straw Hats would also welcome Usopp back. I mean, they wouldn't like, oh, really, you're still around? No, they would welcome him back, and he would be maybe even stronger than he is right now. Maybe after his intense training on Elbaf, he might have even awakened Haki earlier than he would have in the story or something of that nature. So yeah, if that wouldn't have been the case, if they wouldn't have met him on Dressrosa, and they somehow managed to survive through their ordeal, like maybe Sugar just eats the thing in this version and gets knocked out that way, Although that still wouldn't protect her against the time that she confronted Luffy and Law. But hey, maybe that Tabasco sauce pill knocked her out indefinitely for the rest of the arc. We never see or hear anything more from Sugar. But after Dressrosa, let's say they continue on to Totland and then Wano and all that stuff. But eventually they were going to arrive at Elbaf anyway. So another variation of this is they arrive to Elbaf and then they get into trouble there. And then Usopp comes out of nowhere and saves them all. That would be something really cool too. And then that's where we get the apology. So I think that no matter what, even if Usopp did not decide to return to the crew at the end of Enies Lobby, they would eventually met him again. He would have definitely still been sorry for what he did, and he feels like I need to apologize to them, but for right now I need to get stronger, and so that's what he would have done if he went to Elbaf. It would have just taken a little bit longer to get to that point, but I think either at Dressrosa or either when the Straw Hats get to Elbaf itself, then Usopp would have reappeared, apologized, and joined back up with the crew. It would have really sucked to not, because Usopp is like the comic relief a lot of times, and we love him, so it would be really sucky to not have Usopp for all those hundreds of chapters, all that good, humor he gave us, but if he came back, then we meant to get to see it again. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, Usopp would have found his way back to the crew. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think below on what would have happened in this alternate reality. Thanks you guys for watching, and I hope current teching, I hope you reach your destination safely. So yeah, good luck. But yeah, it'd be really weird if I'm watching this as I'm on the plane right now, like, hi, how you doing? Okay, thanks for watching, though, and I have a few more of these that I shot and ready to go for this week, so keep your eye out for that, as well as keep out for some, live streams when I'm down in, sunny Florida right now. So, thanks for everyone. So, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Techie 101, signing out.